All right, I'm going to show you a few things that are not demonstrated in those tutorials that you've been working on. So what I've done here is I brought out a basic shape right here. This is my square, or it could be a rectangle technically, or a cube. Anyways, when I click on this object here and I kind of rotate around, you're going to actually see these little arrows here. And this represents the X, the Y, and the Z axis. Now sometimes if I rotate just in the right position, see how you can see that there? But if I turn just a little bit more, you're not going to see it anymore. It actually showed up on the other side. But if I rotate in a specific direction, I can go ahead and click on one of those arrows. Now when I click on one of those arrows, what this does is, if you notice it on this inside area, it's rotating every 22.5 degrees. Okay, so if I rotate 22, 22, 22.5, 22.5, 22.5. If I wanted a little bit more precise degree, I bring my mouse out a little bit further, and now if you notice down here, I actually have a more smooth movement. So if I wanted specifically something like 63 degrees or 64 degrees, I can actually get that exact movement there. Okay, I'll go ahead and go back to 0. That's your x-axis. Your y-axis is going to be your up and down one. And so if you notice, I'll go ahead and rotate around a little bit here. That's not the best view. There we go. So I can do the kind of the same thing. Again, if I'm on that inside dial, I'm rotating 22.5 degrees at a time. Outside dial is very smooth. Okay. Finally, the last axis, which is your z-axis, and I can actually rotate it around this way. Very simple movements here and more fine movements up on the top there. Okay, some other things I want you to be aware of is you have this black cone. And my mouse is not moving. I have this black cone. If I click the black cone, that basically moves it up and down. Now, if you're designing this for 3D printing, one of the biggest problems that I have is that this little area down here, that's the bed of the printer. If I try to start printing like this, and we're going to look right here, it's going to actually start printing it in the air, and that just doesn't work. And so you need to make sure that you move that up and down. If I click on that black cone, and I can go up and down, if you notice there's a 0, 1, 2. If I click on that and just release it, there's this little box here that I can actually work with. So I can actually click that box and say I want to be right on the bed. I'll put it at 0 and I can hit enter and it brings it back down. It didn't bring it back down to the bed. That's interesting. But you can actually, you can change. There we go. Oh, is that it? Yes, that's it there. So you can actually change your precise dimensions there. Another way that you can do that, if I go ahead and click on the object and I click here, and if you see that's a 20 by 20, say for example I wanted a 40, I can click on that box, by 50, click on this box. Oops, that's in the way. And click here, so 40, and I want this to be 50. I can go ahead and enter those numbers manually to get that. So I'm going to go ahead and undo those right now. And then finally, moving around here, one of the things that you can move around, we know that we can move around with just our arrow keys back and forth, so I'm physically hitting the arrow keys. I can also move up and down if I hold the control button down, the CTRL. So if I want to move something up and down or something into place, you can do that as well. Okay. Finally, I want you to look at, when we click on this object, we see the shape and we know about the hole in the solid here. There's some cool little features here, and so if we look at radius, what that does is that kind of smooths my edges out, and basically it's going from the inside, from the radius out. So if I wanted to make that kind of look more, kind of something like that, I can actually change my radius around there. So almost all the way down to a sphere there. Also, I have something called steps, and the steps is the number it takes to get from one side or one area up to the next point. So if I drop my steps down, you're going to see more of a traditional shape there. But as I add another step in, it's going to kind of smooth those out. And the more steps that you have, and hopefully you can see that working, I'll zoom in a little bit more. The more steps that you have, you can actually see that kind of smoothing out the edges. And the higher the steps, the smoother it's going to be. Last thing you need to do is you need to know how to name this. When you send stuff to me to 3D print, you have to actually have it named correctly. And so we can call this block, and I'm going to put my name. That way when I print it, I know that it's yours. And again, one of the most important things is you can see that that's sitting up and that's not on the bed right now. It's not on the bed. I can actually hit my control button and bring it down so it is sitting exactly on the bed so I can actually print that. So super important. We'll talk about printing a little bit later, but those are some of the features that you really need to know when you're getting into 3D printing and design.